Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to take a look at the iRangeX XR803, and this is a super micro receiver. And if you recall, not more than a video or two ago, we covered another iRange product, which was the RX4, a module for Taranis and other radios that can accept modules in the back. And this little receiver is incredibly small. You know me, I do a lot of micros, and when I see a really small receiver, I've got to get after it. So this is a traditional servo connector here. And if I put this behind it, and I try not to cover it up, this receiver is almost, well, depending upon whether you're looking at length or width. From a length standpoint, it's definitely smaller. From a width standpoint, just a mil or two wider than a servo connector. Let me give you another idea how small this thing is. Here's an eraser head. Everyone's got one of those. Here it is next to the receiver. So this thing is tiny. And probably the hardest part to show you is going to be how you bind this thing. There are two pads. Hopefully I can get this close enough and it will focus. Let me try. So this is going to be difficult to see, but you want to short out the ground pad up here and this pad right below the circle here to the right. So when you apply power, you want to have that shorted. And I use a tool, a little tweezer tool like this. It works great for me. Find something that's conductive. Put it on there, and there's a little dimple in this pad, so if you have something pointy like this, it will settle in and not slide off of there. And that was actually pretty handy for me, because I could put that in there, and I could bind it up, well, if I can get the stick now, apply power, and bind it up. And I've actually already got one bound to this little machine here. And probably the most important part about the wiring, which is very unclear because there are no instructions and they actually don't talk about the wiring on the Banggood website. So of course black is ground, yellow is your signal, and green is positive. Why green is positive, I have no idea. Positive or voltage, so hopefully that's cleared. And it connects right here. You've got to have 3.3 volts, so a lot like the Lemon satellites and other receivers that take that lower voltage. And speaking of those other receivers, let's do a little size comparison. So this is very popular for micros. I see Albert using this one a lot. I haven't actually used one myself, but I picked a couple up just in case. So FS-A8S. This is a satellite that is still in its case. I'm going to have to get the camera to focus. It's not focusing down there. And then this is a satellite that's outside of its case. So this gives you an idea of exactly how small this thing is. And if you're building micros and you can shave a couple of grams or at least 1 gram off, that's a bonus. The other part of this that I'm concerned about is the range. Now this design is, if we can get it to focus on here, you can actually find it on here. Let's see if I can get this. See right there at the top where it says Use Sky? Well, this was actually designed by someone called Fish Pepper. And this person has designed a few other products. iRange has taken his design and kind of made it his own, which is a little bit unfortunate, but he doesn't seem to sell his products. He just kind of posts it on his website, and the software that he uses, the firmware that he creates for this, is open source, so it's kind of free for anyone to go ahead and take advantage of that. So we're lucky to have that here for us. Wish we could buy them directly from him, but I don't appear we can do that. So I've already got this one bound up, and like I said, the binding procedure isn't very hard. Probably the trickiest part is getting power to your board. Now, if your board will supply 3.3 volt to the radio, that helps, because then you can just use a USB connector. Something that I do often when I'm supplying power to a receiver, and I have to do it through USB, is I'll have a little adapter like this that goes into my USB, and I'll get it to where it's not fully in. I'll get this turned around the right way. So it's just kind of loose and hanging out, and I'll just put my hand on it, and as I'm shorting it, I'll just close that gap on there, and then it supplies power to it, and it'll flash real fast, and when it's bound, it will stop flashing. And it's a little bit confusing, because the first time I did it, I didn't think it was bound, because the flashing just slowed a little bit, and when I unplugged power and replugged it back in, then it was connected up for the receiver. Remember, you have to be in D8 mode. Now, Fish Pepper on his website didn't think this would get more than about 100 meters. So I've got a spot that I'm going to go to, and we're going to go find out. We're back from the range test, and I'll put that playing up here. It's not very thrilling entertainment, but what I can tell you is this was a less than ideal test, so kind of a minimum range, if you want to say that. And as you can see here, I've got it mounted kind of low, so that's not ideal. It would be better if it were sticking out the top. And also where I'm flying, if you see that in the video, I'm staying kind of low and I'm sitting down. So all those things kind of reduce the range. But with that said, and we actually had to go back out to the spot several times to try to get a marker and look at the maps again and again and again. I should have pinned it on my phone, but I couldn't find my phone for a little while. But our estimations are, now that it's dark and we can't go back out there, our estimations are that we got about 120 meters. I think where it landed was about 140, 145 meters, but that last 20, 25 meters, I think, was that fail-safe. It takes about 3 seconds to kick in. So for a micro receiver like this, it doesn't have great range, but, you know, it's less than a gram. You can do FR Sky protocol with it. I think it will work out well for indoor flyers or for small space flyers like I do in my backyard. I do plan to use this in a couple of upcoming builds. I think the binding procedure worked as expected. I do wish they'd include either a pinout on their website to what these wires are. I think that was a little bit lacking. Or label things on the board somehow. I'm not sure how they could do that. Maybe a plus, a minus, and an S. They might be able to label the board. So that's what you can expect. Probably around 100 meters. You might get a little bit more. You might get a little bit less. It's going to depend on your environment. If you have any questions or comments, please leave those in the section down below. And thank you for watching.